It began with a gut feeling, as it always does, an almost imperceptible shift in her tone, a strange softness in her voice when she said, "I'll be out for lunch with a friend." That kind of softness only stands out if you've grown used to the sharp edges of someone you thought you knew completely. Laura and I have been married for 8 years. 8 years of shared mornings, whispered dreams, and a quiet understanding that comes from truly knowing someone. I thought we were unshakable. Sure, we had our disagreements, but who didn't? I chalked it up to the natural ebb and flow of life, unaware that this was the beginning of something far darker. It wasn't until I saw a late-night message, while her phone lay unattended on the couch, that the first real alarm went off. Can't stop thinking about today. The number was unfamiliar. When I asked her about it, she laughed nervously. "It's nothing, just a group chat. You know how girls can be." I nodded but didn't press further. That night, staring at the ceiling beside her, I knew something was wrong. Very wrong. Weeks passed, and her lunch dates became more frequent, her excuses increasingly vague. Eventually, I decided to act. I'm not proud of it, but I went through her phone one afternoon when she left it unattended. The messages I found weren't flirtatious. They were explicit. Her friend Eric wasn't just someone she shared idle thoughts with. Their exchanges revealed intimacy I thought was reserved for our marriage. Nausea, anger, and humiliation hit me in waves. My Laura was having an affair, not a fleeting fling, but a deep emotional connection. For a week, I kept this knowledge to myself, unsure whether to confront her, leave, or beg for answers. I did none of those things. Instead, I plotted, methodically, carefully. My first step was research. Eric was a colleague, a sales representative from a company Laura had collaborated with. He was married to, and his wife, Christine, was a petite brunette with kind eyes and 2 young children. My heart went out to her, but sympathy didn't stop me. I hired a private investigator, Frank, a grizzled man with a bulldog-like face and no patience for nonsense. The photos he captured were damning. Laura and Eric leaving hotels together, brushing arms, laughing, even kissing in her car. Every piece of evidence was irrefutable. I contacted Christine directly. Simple, factual, and brutal. Her reply was a single line of thanks. And from that moment, the situation took on a life of its own. I wanted Laura to feel the weight of her choices, so I invited her to lunch. "Let's have a date," I said, forcing a smile. She seemed relieved, unsuspecting. On the day of the lunch, I set the table perfectly. A white tablecloth, our finest silverware, 2 glasses of wine. But the centerpiece wasn't flowers. It was a manila envelope containing every piece of evidence Frank had collected. Laura walked in, cheeks flushed, a smile on her face. It faltered as she noticed the envelope. "What's this?" she asked, her voice trembling. I said nothing, just gestured for her to sit. Reluctantly, she did. I slid the envelope across the table. "Open it," I said. She sifted through the photos and messages, stammering, "I can explain," but her words were empty. "Explain what?" I asked, calm but cutting. "That you've been lying for months, sneaking around with a married man, treating our marriage like it meant nothing." Tears welled in her eyes, and she whispered, "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" I demanded. She broke down, apologies spilling out like useless water. When she finally looked up, I dropped the next revelation. I had spoken Christine. Laura went pale. "You what?" she whispered. Christine entered moments later, her calm fury undeniable. Behind her, Eric stood frozen. Laura's face drained of color. The confrontation that followed was brutal. Christine unleashed every ounce of frustration, and Eric had no defense. Laura tried to intervene, but Christine's anger was a wall. By the end, Laura and Eric were broken shells, while Christine and I shared a quiet acknowledgement of having survived intact. Laura left that evening, and I filed for divorce the next day. Christine followed suit with her own, and Eric's career crumbled after Christine sent their employer the evidence. Laura's reputation plummeted as word spread. No one was left to blame but themselves. For me, recovery was slow. Nights of tears, mornings where even getting out of bed felt impossible. But with time, anger softened into determination. Therapy, running, reconnected with old friends. I rebuilt myself. A year later. I am happier than I have been in years, valuing honesty and respect, refusing to settle for anything less. Laura and Eric didn't survive the weight of guilt. Revenge may not always be noble, but sometimes it's a spark needed to reclaim your life. And reclaim it I did.